Known as Whitehall, the Flagler Museum is located in Palm Beach, Florida. It was built in 1902 for Henry Morrison Flagler, who turned around and gave it to his new wife, Mary, as a wedding present. The home was 100,000 square feet and one of the largest residences in the country. Mr. Flagler possessed one of the finest business minds of his generation. He was a founding partner in Standard Oil and was a critical component to the success of that organization. And John D. Rockefeller pointed this out on more than one occasion. Eventually, though, he had to back away from Standard Oil due to his wife's failing health, and they moved to Florida. And there began the second chapter of this phenomenal businessman's legacy. He fell in love with Florida. It was as simple as that. And he realized that he could take Florida and develop it. And his engine to do that was the Florida East Coast Railroad. He built it down the eastern side of Florida, and it moved people, materials, and goods into the state, and it took the same out of the state. He eventually realized that southern Florida he wanted to convert it into the American Riviera. He built this beautiful structure, which is the Royal Ponciana, and it was located right next door to his house in Palm Beach, and it became the destination point for some of America's wealthiest families of that time. He used Whitehall as a host for the social season, and there was little doubt when anyone walked into Whitehall that money was here and that if you had money, this is where you wanted to bring it and you wanted to develop it. It was a wonderful location, and he was an incredible promoter. In the ballroom, there are many famous pictures of the wealthy and elite of that day dancing through the social season with Mr. Flagler as their host. This gives you a good idea of what we were up against when we started the work in 1998. In the upper third, you see a darker look, that is an older finish, and then surrounding it is a much lighter finish. And that happened because they pulled the area rug back and worked around that instead of sanding and finishing the whole floor. The wood was maple, which is very unusual for southern Florida. It is not indigenous to that area. You typically see maple floors in the north and the Midwest. It was 2 inches wide and 1 inch thick. One of the other reasons, or the main reason, that we were being brought there was because of the massive damage from termites to the maple flooring that was all over the first floor level of the house. Well, first floor and second floor level, because maple was the species used throughout the house. This gives you a good idea of what we were up against. The damage was just extraordinary. Now, we could not sand the floors at all. It would have been devastating. So we resorted to passive refinishing, a process I developed where we use chemicals to dissolve the old finishes, put them back into solution, and then get them off. The floors simply could not be sanded. It would have just destroyed what little wood was left. My younger brother David came up with a unique way of dealing with the damage. We would take each individual piece, route it out, dropping the level of the floor 3/8 of an inch. Then we would cut and fit replacement wood and then glue it in place. This repair process went on for months because the damage, as I said, was extensive. It was painstaking, but it was what had to be done because the museum had made up their mind they were not going to destroy the old original floor. Once the replacement wood had been put down, David would come through and stain and dye the floor to match the maple. Now there was oak flooring in the house. It had some termite damage, but not nearly as much, and in some cases the damage was just of a different nature. And once again, we resorted to passive refinishing. Here again, you can see the dark look, that is the old finish on the floor, and you're surrounded by the lighter look, that's where we got the old finish off without any sanding at all. The big benefit of passive refinishing is there is no loss of original material. With the oak, we had to do strategic staining and dyeing to get a better blend, once we would put the finish on. This is our workshop. We had planers, joiners, saws, vacuums, you name it, it went on in this room. It was a very, very busy center. This is what the room looks like today because it's the music room. And for one brief period of time, it saw a flurry of activity as a woodworking shop. It was quite a treat to work in that room. And here we see the finished product. The maple is looking good. It has protective coatings. Here we are in the French parlor, which is where we started our work in 1998. And then here is the very attractive look of the restored maple floor. Maple is a beautiful wood. It has a golden hue to it that people will kill for. Here are some numbers from the project that I thought I'd pass on to you. We restored 23,000 square feet of maple and oak flooring. It required 10,000 hours of labor. Over 3,000 individual pieces of wood were replaced. The work was started in 1998 and went on for 8 years, and we did 12 separate phases. No measurable loss of wood throughout the entire process. The chemicals we used were environmentally responsible, biodegradable, and safe. And most importantly, the museum was open the entire time that all the work took place. There are a lot of people that saw us working there over the years, and that was a real treat. Flagler Museum is one of the most impressive structures in the country, and it has undergone an incredible restoration. I would encourage you to visit their website. They have a wealth of information there. If you're in Southern Florida, you owe it to yourself to see the Flagler Museum. Thank you for your time.